And then there. All right, once I see myself on YouTube, I will go. It looks like we are ready to go. Thanks for joining me here at the First Alert Desk. I'm Tori Cooper, and always glad to have you here with this update. It's actually a very slow news day. We had our editorial meeting and we had some good pitches, we had some good follow-ups, we're making some more calls, but overall we're not going to bog you down with too many details. I figured it'd be great to just kind of come on here and talk about some of the top stories from this week and just what yesterday that you may have missed, and just stories that still have legs in terms of developments that we're working to get from investigators, and some questions that several families still have tonight that they are hoping to get answered from police. So let's dive right into it. I want to talk about a homicide investigation happening in South Fulton County. Family members are still anxiously looking for answers as it relates to their loved one who unfortunately was found shot and killed in South Fulton. They say that police are still working to track down the killer, but don't seem to be making too much headway. We did have our Atlanta News First reporter, Adam Murphy, who spoke to the victim's family, and I'm going to let him pick it up from here.
And to hear that my son was shot in the way that he was shot tells me that it was personal.
Jamise Knight got the phone call that no parent wants to receive, informing her that her 25-year-old son, Brandon, had been shot and killed.
Traumatic.
Police say the shooting happened just before 8 o'clock Wednesday night on Feldwood Road near Banneker High School. Officers responded and found Brandon Bennett lying in the road with a gunshot wound to his head.
I haven't been told if it was a shot from afar or up close, but the people that he lived with and he surrounded himself with at his place of where he stays, it hasn't always been favorable.
Brandon's mother said he lived with a group of people in a home just up the road and would walk a couple of miles to and from work. She also pointed out he always carried his cell phone with him, but not the night that he was gunned down.
It hurts. It hurts.
Brandon's sister, Michaelia Purnell, said her brother moved to Atlanta from Augusta to live on his own and was a kind and generous person.
We came to Atlanta to basically show me and my big brother and my mom that he could do it, and he's not a baby, and he's Big Bird now because we call him Bird.
His family said South Fulton police have not been very forthcoming with information about what happened to their beloved Brandon.
We've gotten more information from the medical center where my brother is than we have gotten from the detective, and that's not sitting well with me.
Now, I contacted South Fulton police, but they did not provide any new information in the case. At last check, there were no suspects in custody. In South Fulton, Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
Now, that's the very latest that we have right now. And of course, if we learn anything new, we'll share it with you right here on Atlanta News First. And you can also find those details. We'll update our stories in our Atlanta News First app that is also free to download on your phone. And if you have it, if you don't already have it, make sure you go get that. So that is one of the stories that stuck out to me, just because we had a lot of people that were found unresponsive and dead this past weekend. And we always want to keep a close eye on if any new details come out. And that was something something that we followed that I just felt like was a worthy update. Now I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about a story that I worked on this week that I still believe has legs today because we are heading into the busy holiday shipping. And I know many of you may be wondering, is my package going to get there on time? Well, tonight I can still tell you that state lawmakers are putting pressure on USPS to do more to ensure that your package is delivered adequately and on time, but not just during the holiday season, but all the time. I did sit down with House Republican Representative Mike Collins, who penned a letter to the Postmaster General this week on Wednesday, calling on USPS to do more to ensure that customers are satisfied with their packages and that they aren't having lost mail. He spelled out a number of issues that his constituents in Georgia's 10th district did express to him, and he wanted to make sure that he reached out to USPS, asked some of the questions that need to get answered, and he's calling on getting those answers by January 8th. So, and this is also not the first time that a Georgia lawmaker has sent a letter this year to the Postmaster General in regards to some issues that constituents have been seeing and all of us are dealing with. It wasn't hard for me to find people that had experienced issues with USPS. All I had to do was go to Midtown and talk to some people outside of the post office. And we also had several emails from viewers. So I felt this was a worthy topic to dig into. And I sat down with Congressman Mike Collins. So I'm going to let you hear what he told us.
Sometimes you show up to the post office and they say it's open and it's not open.
Georgians say they're fed up with dealing with problems plaguing their packages and mail sent through the United States Postal Service.
I dropped this package off and the value of the package is like $250. Well, I guess they didn't scan it in and it went to the warehouse and supposedly got lost.
And it's every district in Georgia, it seems like. As we started reaching out to other members in the delegation here in Georgia, they were telling us they're seeing the same problems.
U.S. Representative Mike Collins of Georgia's 10th Congressional District says after hearing from a number of his constituents and members of the delegation in Georgia, he realized problems with USPS are impacting the lives of thousands of taxpayers in Georgia and across the country.
We've had people that have been calling and reporting things from mail missing, being stolen, irregular routes, people that just not delivering the mail regularly.
So he wrote this letter to the USPS Postmaster General Louise DeJoy Wednesday.
So it's just a simple ask of the Postal Service. What's been going on? How are you monitoring? How are you going to fix it?
Collins told USPS he wants answers to these questions by January 8th. But this isn't the first letter of concern sent to Postmaster General DeJoy from a Georgia lawmaker. In September, Senators John Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock sent this letter to the postmaster in an effort to address the, quote, unsatisfactory conditions at a USPS building in Greensboro, Georgia, posing a, quote, potential safety hazard. We reached out to the USPS Postmaster General DeJoy about both letters of concern. USPS responded saying they're looking into specifics related to this matter. Georgians we spoke to say changes need to happen, especially around holiday shipment times.
At least the post office being open late, and I guess more employees.
Sometimes you show up to the post.
So a number of different things going on, right? But now that deadline fast approaching, before you know it, it'll be Christmas, and after that it will be January. So we will see if maybe the Postmaster General does get back to us in any way about what they're doing to solve these problems. USPS did acknowledge my request, as you heard. I did reach out to them, and I did, with the concerns, and they did get back to us saying that they were looking into the issues, and so they responded. So it'll be interesting to see if anything comes out of this, but we all do our best to track our packages. So hopefully it'd be great if it was easier and more convenient, of course. So now let's move on to another story. This one has definitely been the top story all week. The trial surrounding 25-year-old Hannah Payne, who is now guilty on all counts. A jury found her guilty of malice murder and felony murder of 65-year-old Kenneth Herring, and that dates back to 2019 when this all happened. Hannah Payne had been living with her family members and living as a civilian since she was bailed out of jail in 2019 after this happened, when she chased down a man who was involved in a hit and run, and then she shot and killed him. And now She was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Now, I was in the courtroom when the verdict was read out. The family reaction from both sides. Kenneth Herring's family was in the courtroom, as well as Hannah Payne's family. Very much a surreal moment. That was my first time ever being in the courtroom during a murder trial when someone is about to be convicted. And that was very adrenaline. A very adrenaline heavy moment, devastating for both families. No one wins, and it's cliche to say, but that's really what I watched. I watched a family heartbroken who felt relief, but I also saw a family who was heartbroken to see their loved one be put in handcuffs and taken away. So I did get a chance to catch up with the victim's family at the end. Kenneth Herring's family did speak to me and other members of the media to express how they were feeling during that guilty verdict. And now I just gave you the most recent update that she is now going to be in jail, in prison for life, with the possibility of parole. But I do want you to hear from Kenneth Herring's family because they are the victims in all of this. Tonight there were tears of relief and disbelief, but Kenneth Herring's family says justice was served.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
It's the one word family members of 65-year-old Kenneth Herring have been waiting to hear for the last 5 years.
It was a relief that, although my brother died over nothing, but it was a relief that we can say now he's at rest.
And 25-year-old Hannah Payne has been dreading. Jurors found Payne guilty of murdering Kenneth Herring back in 2019. Herring left the scene of an accident in Clayton County when Hannah Payne chased him down and shot him in his car. During closing arguments, Payne's attorney made one final push to jurors that his client acted in self-defense.
This is not some killer. This is not some murder. This is a young girl who got caught up in the wrong situation with a good heart and good intention.
Ultimately, it wasn't enough to convince 12 jurors.
They saw all of the evidence and they came back with a swift verdict.
The jury requested to review 911 calls and body camera video one last time during deliberations Tuesday. 30 minutes later, the jury returned.
Informed that you have reached a verdict.
And found Payne guilty of felony murder, malice murder, and 6 other charges related to the crime.
Guilty.
For state prosecutors, it's a long, hard-fought victory.
Relieved, happy, the whole range of emotions at this point in time.
For Herring's family,
Been long and arduous. It was hard on my family.
I'll never forget it. It will forever be ingrained in my heart and in my mind.
Now, Hannah Payne's family members were distraught when she was hauled away in handcuffs, and they did not wish to speak with the media tonight. But Payne's sentencing hearing will be Friday at 10 a.m. Reporting in Clayton County, I'm Tori Cooper, Atlanta News First. So, seeing me in 2 places at once, right? But yes, she was sentenced on Friday. Like I said, she was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. And now, that's the end of where we're at in this investigation. The investigation's closed because now she is behind bars. But it will be the next step will be to see, when her opportunity for parole comes up. We did ask the family members what they wanted to see happen, and they did not want to see the possibility of parole. Some of the other things that the family members told me that really stuck out to me, they felt that her testimony, they felt that she did not show any remorse. I remember that Kenneth Herring's brother did say that he hopes that she does come around to this verdict and does accept guilt and will hopefully find forgiveness one day. So that was something that, of course, I didn't get to include in the story, but I lived through that experience, talked to him myself, and that was something that also stuck out to me after interviewing the family members. So they got justice, and that's what they said was the most important, of course, in this, and they felt like their loved one can now rest in peace. So happy to see that for this family, of course. So now the next big talker, at least, is the one that's going to concern your weekend, is how it is looking outside. So we're going to send things over to our first alert meteorologist, Cutter Martin, who is going to join us now with some details. Definitely warmer right now than it's been some days this week in the early morning hours. And I love when it's in the 50s or 60s, Cutter, because I like to go on a walk and I'll just bring a big puffy coat and we're good. But
the thing with today is you have the breeze and you have the drizzle. Sunny in 50s, nice. But you get the 50s with the gloom and a little bit of spritz in the breeze.
Right, and that changes things.
It does change things a little bit. But again, as Tori just mentioned, it's not too bad outside. And certainly it is not as cold as it is going to be as we get a little bit deeper into the extended forecast, and especially as we get into really our Tuesday and our Wednesday of the coming work week. So just keep that in mind. Bigger and colder changes are on the way. It is already chilly outside, though, and we are tracking some chilly air building in kind of from the east and northeast, kind of an east wind, northeast wind. If you're outside, or if you've been outside at all, you probably have noticed that. And that breeze will kind of lock the already cool temperatures in place overnight tonight. We will cool down just a little bit more, but it's really a factor. And the biggest impact to evening plans, not necessarily the temperature. It is, mid, almost late December at this point. It's not necessarily the temperature. It is going to be increasing rain. We'll get to First Alert Radar in just a moment. First, I want to welcome you in. We are talking about the forecast here on ANF Plus, Atlanta News First Plus. If you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, I want to remind you we are streaming across a variety of platforms, including Roku, Amazon Fire, the Atlanta News First app. In fact, right here on my phone, also we are streaming right now in the First Alert Weather app, so don't even have to leave the couch. You can catch the stream. AtlantaNewsFirst.com as well. But if you have any weather questions, maybe comments, concerns about the forecast, if you have evening plans tonight, YouTube is the place to be. Already some commenters coming in. Sam Levy, if I pronounce your name incorrectly, please let me know. Hopefully you have a good evening. Alex and Florence as well is watching. So again, any weather questions, comments, concerns, even if you live outside of Metro Atlanta, even if you are beyond the confines of North Georgia, if you have a question, just give me a holler. Again, back to current temperatures right now. It is in the mid-50s, made to feel a little bit cooler with the occasionally gusty breeze in the forecast. Again, it is just a little bit chilly out there, and the wind is starting to kick up just a bit. And that breeze will make 50s feel like 40s at times, and eventually, sunset here within the next hour. Eventually, temperatures themselves will also start to cool back as we get a little bit deeper into the evening. Switching over to First Alert Radar right now, we are tracking rain moving in. Again, a first alert in effect for wet weather this evening. If you have any plans, we talked about a plan impact, not necessarily from temperatures, but because of steady light rain and drizzle moving through, creating damp conditions across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. So a first alert for evening plans. If you have any plans outdoors this evening, if you are maybe headed out to dinner this evening, if you have errands you need to run, it is, of course, we only have a couple more Saturdays before the big day, the 25th, Christmas Day gets here. A lot of folks out shopping this weekend. So if you do have any outdoor plans, hey, heads up that, yes, you're going to be dealing with a little bit of rain, and we do have that first alert in effect this evening, overnight tonight, into our early portion of our Sunday morning. Now, it's not going to rain, everywhere constantly, but we are going to be dealing with damp conditions along with that breeze and along with the chilly temperatures across North Georgia and Metro Atlanta this evening and overnight tonight. In fact, here is that hour-by-hour forecast. You notice the gloom out there across Lake Lanier, same gloom as here in the city, and the cloudy sky, the gray condition, really widespread across much of the southeast as an area of low pressure starts to really wind up and spread clouds and rain deeper into the southeast, especially coastal areas here over the next couple of days. So rain chance right now is at 30 to 40%. Rain is a little bit hit or miss. It is light, but it is also increasing. Notice how temperatures will cool as we get into the 5, 6, 7 o'clock hours, and eventually we are back in the upper 40s across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia with a gusty breeze. That'll become more noticeable this evening, and overnight tonight it will feel even chillier than that. Notice how the wind does pick up a bit as we get into the wee hours of tomorrow morning, and certainly that wind will pick up as we get into the daytime hours Sunday. Widespread rain, though not especially heavy in the forecast this evening. Excuse me, you're going to have to bear with me, no pun intended. A little bit under the weather here. It seems like something's going around everywhere, and this weather, not much of a help. So just bear with me. But again, forecast-wise, telling the story You look out the window, you see the gray, you see the raindrops, more and more of that condition as we go into the evening hours. And if you do have evening plans, it's kind of a 1-2 thing here. The rain, the biggest impact, of course, but it is also going to get a little bit chilly as temperatures gradually fall back into the upper 40s and winds begin to increase across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. And looking at some new data coming in, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the 7-day forecast. We do have colder air on the way. As we talked about, it's chilly now, but it's going to get much, much colder across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. So do keep that in mind. It is going to get colder behind this system. Basically, as this area of low pressure, this rain chance pulls away, colder air will filter in from the north, and that will mean that we are tracking highs struggling to get into the mid and upper 40s on our Tuesday. Again, that first alert is for tonight into Sunday morning, so we're going to move that over on our graphic here. This is not a Sunday night into Monday morning concern. This is a this evening, overnight, tonight into Sunday morning impact. That's why the first alert has been moved over to kind of the beginning of the forecast there. So just keep that in mind. We are tracking an alert to wetter conditions building into North Georgia and metro Atlanta tonight. And it's an impact to overnight plans, really evening plans. If you're headed out to dinner tonight, maybe church tomorrow morning, the early morning walk. That's what we're going to be watching here for you across North Georgia and metro Atlanta. And then as we get into the daytime hours tomorrow, we will dry out. Clouds, bit of a battle there. Definitely a little bit of gloom across North Georgia and metro Atlanta, but drier with increasingly windy weather as we get into Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, followed by colder weather as we get into next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're talking multiple freezes in the city of Atlanta. That means that outlying areas could be mid-20s, some lower 20s in there. Hard freeze for the mountains and our typically colder spots Tuesday, Wednesday, and in some spots, especially mountains, possibly again on our Thursday morning. So again, I want to thank you for joining and for asking weather questions, comments, concerns. Looks like a more focus on the news tonight on our YouTube feed, though. If you do have a question, or maybe you're going to watch this feed after it airs live, it is, of course, always available at YouTube. Also streaming the clipped version on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. If you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, you can reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and really any social media account. Just at Cutter Martin, CutterMartin. Again, thank you for watching. We're going to be streaming again 8 o'clock tonight. We have no early newscast due to basketball, though we are live at 10 p.m. Atlanta News First on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate, and then on the late news tonight at 11, Atlanta News First. New data coming in. Well, the latest news headlines, I'll be breaking down a gloomy start to your Sunday coming up in the complete First Alert forecast. Have a wonderful evening. Stay dry. Keep rain alerts turned on in the First Alert weather app, and bring your umbrella.